Good morning, everyone. Wherever you are watching us, or you're watching us this morning, or will be watching later, I bless you in the name of Christ, and thank you for joining us in. I think I have never been nervous before I preached in public, in like seeing people in person, but this is a little bit different. So forgive me if I stumble on my own words. It's a bit weird to preach in camera. And also today we will look at some topic that had a lot of history, and topic is Sabbath. And I personally could make 3 different type of sermons on this: one from historical, one from theological, and then from Christian perspective on the topic of Sabbath. Which hopefully for you, I'm not going to do that today. I will try to be short. I believe all of us are more used, especially in this last year, staying at home and watching TV shows on Netflix, which are usually 20 minutes, so I'll try to be in these 20 minutes. And also, before, I don't believe ever I open my sermon with a joke, but here we are, I'm going to do it now. And here's the joke. There was a city, and in that city there was a Christian man, and all of a sudden there was a huge rain start falling down, and the town was start being flooded. And when the water was till the knee, friend of the Christian friend was in the boat and invite him to join in. He said to him, "Come join me in the boat. I don't think this is gonna stop. We're gonna die if you stay here." And the Christian, his friend answered, said, "I'm Christian. You know that. I believe in God. I believe God will save me. So thank you for your offer, but no." And after short arguing, his friend leave and go. When the water was still chest, another friend come in and again with a boat and saying, "Man, come, you're gonna drown. Come join me in, like you're gonna die." He said, No, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, I believe God will save me." And again, his friend leave. Water almost till the nose, his neighbor is coming with a boat, and again the same answer from a Christian friend. Of course, he died. He went to heaven, and the first thing he came to God and said to him, "Why didn't you save me? I was believing in you all my life." And God said, "What do you mean I didn't save you? I sent you 3 boats and you refused them all." And see, the reason I said this joke is that sometimes that's how we treat some of the things that God said, and especially Sabbath. So, Sabbath, let's have a short definition of it. That is a day of rest with God. Let's have it this short version. So if you're exhausted, and if you a control freak, or any other problem you might have, there is given day of rest that might help. But somehow we tend to look in everything else except what God said. And if you go to Google or Amazon and start searching for self-help books, many of them will talk about day of rest. But even the writers, the secular writers, maybe don't know where is this idea coming from. So one example of author, Joshua Milburn, who writing about minimalism and who is writing about days of rest and all this kind of stuff. He's not Christian. He might even have no idea where is actually his idea coming from. But see, that's exactly, they're coming from Bible, they're coming from Jesus, they're coming from 10 Commandments. And we will look in the text today, event, that Jesus was arguing with a group of Pharisees what Sabbath is not, and then he argued with them what Sabbath is. And that will be my approach to this topic today, to see what Jesus said it's not, and then what he said it is, and then we will probably a little bit move away from that and touch more in how we can apply this Sabbath idea to us today. Maybe you have a completely different opinion on me, or what I have. That's completely fine. I personally believe that we should keep a day of rest, whether you call it Sabbath, whether you do it on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Monday, whatever it works for you. I personally believe we should have a day of rest that we spend together with God. If that doesn't fit with you, you can turn it off now. That's fine. If you do searching for some kind of answer, please continue listening. But let us look in chapter 6, Luke Gospel chapter 6, from verses 1 till 11. On a Sabbath, while he was going through grain fields, his disciples plucked and ate some hands of grain, rubbing them in their hands. But some of the Pharisees said, "Why are you doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath?" And Jesus answered them, "Have you not read what David did when he was hungry? He and those who were with him have entered the house of God and took and ate bread of the presence, which is not lawful but the priest to eat, and also give to those with him. And he said to them, The Son of Man is the Lord of Sabbath." On another Sabbath, he entered synagogue, and he was teaching. And a man was there whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and the Pharisees watched him to see whether he would heal on the Sabbath, so that they might find a reason to accuse him. But he knew their thoughts, and he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come and stand here." And he rose and stood there. And Jesus said to them, "I ask you, is it lawful on Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to destroy it?" And after looking around at them, all said to him, "Stretch out your hand." And he did so, and his hand was restored. But they were filled with fury and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. So this is our text, and I will give you a short context what was happening till this point, and what will happen later. See, again, I said that Luke is here dealing with a Sabbath, and he's dealing with Pharisaical interpretation of Sabbath and what is Jesus' interpretation of Sabbath. And there is a division in the text. From verse 1 to 5, there is this protest of Pharisees, and then from 6 till 11, there is Jesus healing that man's hand. So Luke is not really concerned here to give us a chronological type of event. He's not really concerned to tell us, oh, this exact day. No, he said on Sabbath and then on another Sabbath. So it's kind of vague when exactly this happened, because that's the purpose that Luke is trying to bring here. His purpose here is to introduce to us already in early part of the book rejection, arrest, conviction, and execution of Jesus that will happen later. And there is this problem constant with Pharisees that he's going to have, but he also have some issue with the mass of the people around. There is a different opinion on things. So the context till now was that masses rejected Jesus already in chapter 4 because he was blessing Gentiles, and Jewish mass was strongly against that. Then we have Pharisees who reject him in chapter 5 twice because he claimed to be God, which they didn't accept it, and then he was associating himself with sinners. And then at this point, they reject him because of the way he interprets Sabbath, because they have a different opinion.
Can you turn it on? Make sure it's on.
I did. Sorry? Working?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got some technical problems. And this is the issue that is constantly dominating, that this different opinion between Jesus and a group of Pharisees, who seems like they're following him around. And the problem before rejection, they didn't really have much proof for what Jesus was kind of teaching wrongly in their opinion, but right now he kind of gave them with the Sabbath. See, in chapter 4, Jesus was already healing on Sabbath and casting out demons, and no one of these Pharisees were against it at that time, because at that time they were curious, maybe this guy really is Messiah. But when he started associating himself with the sinners and eating with the Gentiles and all this kind of stuff, and they start seeing those things, that's where their opinions start being different, and then they rejected him. And now what they do on this Sabbath, when he healed one man, all of a sudden there is this burst of anger. And that's why I call it today this, why are they angry? And who are they? They're Pharisees. And they're angry on Jesus because according to them, he don't do things right. Okay? And whether he do or not, we will look at this a bit later. So, we need to ask ourselves, what is Sabbath? And there, I found some two short definitions. So, biblical Sabbath is 24 hours block of time in which we stop working, enjoy rest, and practice being in presence of God. And then another definition, Saturday, the holy day where Jewish people were commanded not to work. The first definition is a bit modern, it's a bit of, let's say, our time, and it's concerning us, how we practice Sabbath, or do we practice or not, because there is different opinions, is it Sabbath Sunday or not, and what we do that, and it's a big topic, I will not be going into that. But the thing is that the second one coming directly from the Ten Commandments, and I will read from where it's coming from. And it's coming from Exodus 20. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you should not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. And so if we look at this, what is saying in Exodus that it should be kept. So then we have a question why or we don't do it. Because see, we don't really keep Sabbath. And the question is, shall we or shall not? And I personally believe we should. And I asked then myself also and everybody a question, because it's coming from 10 commandments, and we all believe, yeah, you should say the other commandments, you should not kill, you should not steal, kids should obey their parents. I believe all the parents believe that. But do you parents then believe that you should keep Sabbath? Because it's in the same place as the bunch of commandments. And then there's a question for us, where does this happen that we kind of forgot about that commandment? Well, it's a big history, it's a lot of tradition, and at some point we maybe did shift as going on Sunday, but I strongly also disagree that we kind of do it, because here's the issue. If we say that Sunday is the day we committed to rest with God, and I'm talking from my own experience, hear what I do. So before it was possible to come in person in the church, I go in the church, and that would I consider okay with being with others, and then that was the block of time I gave to God. And then the first thing I would do when I go home, I would start cooking, I would start doing chores, I would start preparing stuff around the house, checking my emails, and my mind would already be in the Monday. So there is this issue that we don't really rest with God. We don't even maybe rest ourselves and properly. And that's, again, this question, why are they angry? And the second day are us. And the reason I put this world map is the two reasons. The first reason is I believe that Luke Gospel should be put together with Book of Acts. It's the same author. Acts is just more practical part of it. And the same topic in Luke Gospel and in Acts is that Gospel is for whole world, for everybody. That's where you see that map. But also to just communicate this message, that whole world is currently angry. And I will strongly argue that we are all kind of angry most of the time because we don't really properly rest. And don't really spend time with God. When I'm talking about rest, it can be many different things. The same way as we all different, we have different gifts, we're learning different way, we are resting different way. So for me, resting is also spending time with people, maybe with our Latvian friends who are introverts. Resting is away from people, and that's fine. That's your way of resting. But we all need to do probably for a whole day, not just a couple of hours. And right now, I really believe we are all addicted to being distracted with things. And that's where also comes problem that we don't really spend time resting with God. But let's go back to our text and what Jesus was saying there to the group of his Pharisees friends. See, he was passing through the field with his disciples, and they were taking these grains and eating. I don't know, did you ever did that? I did as a kid, live in a village, and I tried. It tastes terrible. I can assure you that what they did, it's not really food. It's a raw plant, and it doesn't taste good, and certainly doesn't really help when you're hungry. So it's kind of surprising such reaction from Pharisees, that they all just so angry and just mind blown. Oh, look what your disciples are doing, And for Jesus, what he could do there, it would be very easy to just say, I didn't do it, while saying what you're doing. See, but Jesus, in one way, he's a good leader, and he took responsibility for what his followers are doing. He's not going, that's them, that's not me. No, he's not like ours leaders when group do and then, no, this is not. Jesus took responsibility for that. Even though he considered probably also their reaction ridiculous. Why are they so exploding like this? But the problem is, in their interpretation, Pharisees interpreted Sabbath differently. And not only Sabbath, they interpreted all the law given by God differently. And they put different kind of rules in order to keep that one rule. And to keep the Sabbath, Pharisees invented 39 rules to keep that one original rule. And this is where Jesus is pressing them. And not only that, there is other places where he's talking about the guy who didn't financially help with his parents who were in the need, and he was one of the Pharisees, but because of the invented rule, he was legally in front of the Pharisees justified not to do so. And Jesus confronted that guy as well. And that's what he's doing here as well with these guys. Because the Sabbath is day where you stop from work and spend with God, but then Pharisees just add all the bunch of stuff that you're supposed not to do it. And I brought this is a water filter, and according to Pharisee interpretation, you shouldn't be doing this on Sabbath, because one of the rules is that the working is if you're splitting things, and splitting things in this would be considered working, so you're supposed to not to do that, which is, you would agree, it's sort of ridiculous, and it's leading in complete legalism. And that's the Jesus, what he's trying to address, and kind of show them that they're going too far from original rule. They sort of got lost in what they're doing now. And then there is another problem in this text, and another thing that makes them super angry, and it's this, that they are professional students of law. There is, let's say, no better in that time students of law than this group of people. And when they confront him and start questioning him, he questioned their authority back. And the way he said it, it's very offensive. He said, haven't you read it? Of course they did it. It's like you're talking to science guy today and you ask him, haven't you read this? It's really offensive where he's literally poking them where they hurt. It really hurt them. And that's the way he answered to them. Not because he's annoyed, but it's really because to catch their attention to what really they're saying. That's one reason why they also get angry. The second reason, I believe, is the biggest reason, is that he associates himself as being a King of Kings, which they already rejected. He rejected him, they rejected him as Messiah, as God. And now he said, David did that, so I'm also doing it. In that sense, he said, I am like David, I am King of Kings, because that's what Pharisees believed about David. And that's what drives them crazy, because you're supposed not to do that. You're not, the interpretation, he is not King of the Kings, and he's supposed to not be equal to David. He has not this authority. But that's what Jesus is claiming, and that's what driving them crazy. And then the third thing is that he's pressing them with this question, because none of them question, oh, why did David did that? Why David break the law? Because it was David, so they don't question his authority. So what does bring another problem that Pharisees had, their pride, which again Jesus was addressing several times, that they would sit in the first rows in the synagogues and pray out loud so people would praise them. In this sense, they don't address, because David is this super king, you don't touch that, he's our guy. So when someone else do that, oh no, that guy that's some lame dude, so we can attack him. And that's where their heart is prideful, legalistic, bunch of rules that doesn't really help to keep one original rule. And I would then argue they don't really spend time with God, because if you look on this text, they like press media, like a journalist running around with Jesus and asking questions and following him all over around. So how they're spending their Sabbath? They're just following Jesus constantly everywhere and questioning him and looking what he's doing. They doesn't really spend time in that sense with wholeheartedly with God. They're just trying to accuse someone of doing things wrongly. And the second part of our text is when Jesus healed that man. As I said already, they didn't have a problem in chapter 4, Jesus healed a bunch of people, and from one guy he cast out demons. They haven't had a problem then that he didn't keep Sabbath in their understanding. Now they have it because they rejected him. And it sort of looks like they planted that guy over there. Maybe he was regular attendee of synagogue. Maybe not. We don't know that. But the thing is that he's there. And Jesus is aware that he's there. And Jesus is also aware what his opposition Pharisees are thinking. And the questions he's asking them, it shows us this contrast between Jesus' understanding of Sabbath and Pharisees' understanding of Sabbath. Of Jesus' understanding what we're supposed to do, and Pharisees. See, they maybe want this guy to be healed, but not for his own benefit. They want him to be healed so that they could accuse Jesus according to their legalistic, made-up rules. Jesus wanted this man to be healed because he's compassionate Lord. That's why he healed him. And he asked them questions. Is it Sabbath given to man to be miserable or to be blessed? Is he supposed to do good on Sabbath or do evil? And from there we see Jesus' heart and his compassion toward this man and toward all of us. Because God gave us one day to rest because he's compassionate and he knows we need that day of rest. He knows that we need day of restoration and getting back energy. He knows that. He's compassionate God. That's why it's this Sabbath day. That's why I believe we should keep it. And if we don't, we end up in a lot of problems because we are angry, we are tired, and all the other stuff just come out of that. And I've written down 3 sort of principles that we can do when we keep Sabbath, or that we can say Sabbath is. Because till this point we look at it, Jesus said Sabbath is not this. Sabbath is not where you do evil stuff. Sabbath is not that you just invent this bunch of rules and then you're just checking is it everything all right. No, that's not Sabbath. Sabbath I wrote down 3 things I see. Sabbath is a day where our needs are met. So when I practice Sabbath, I'm thinking, how can I be filled up spiritually? How can I be filled up emotionally? How can I be filled up physically? And again, this, if it's empty and I'm thirsty, it doesn't help me. It's just a plastic container that there is nothing inside. But if I put water inside, then it will help me when I'm thirsty. And it's the same with our bodies. If we are emotionally, physically, and spiritually empty, we are of no good use to God, to our families, and to other people. In fact, we might be a trap to other people when we are empty. And I'm speaking from my own experience. 5 years ago, I had a crazy schedule done by myself. No one forced me in that. I worked full-time job. I studied theology at evening. I was involved in the church and in 2 different ministries. I had only Sunday afternoon as a free day, and that even I spent it by cleaning a church place or going in McDonald's with other young people. And I lived like that for a year until one summer I completely clashed. I had no energy. I started literally hating people and had complete breakdown for 3 months because I didn't rest almost for a year. And then I become a trap to other people and become angry, and all the other stuff follow out from there. So if we don't really met our needs, we are no good use to anything. And that's why we have a special day. Remember the joke from the beginning of the story. There are 3 boats come. The same way the Sabbath is. There is that day. Please do take that day and spend it with God. Spend it by resting. And that brings me to the second principle, which is the Sabbath is day to spend with Christ, to spend with God. And if you follow us regularly, you probably remember Mark's famous picture of the cross, where there is resurrection and there is a cross, and then we are somewhere in between, and there is Jesus' second coming. So we are somewhere there. And the same with the resting, with the Sabbath. We never going to be fully rest, no matter how many football games we watch, how many books we read, or whatever you do for resting. We're not going to be fully rest until Jesus come and we go with Him. But still, we have one day to focus on Him, not on us. Because probably next 6 days, we're going to have a chance to focus on us how much time we want to. But on that one day, we can spend being focused on God, and as Psalms say, that we, our souls need to be silent in front of God. And I'm not living in delusion that some of you, just because someone is preaching this, going to start practicing this. I don't believe in that. I believe that accountability brings changes. So if you really want more rest and more productive life or whatever, you need to have someone who keep you on check. You need to have this sounding board with someone look at you, what you're doing. And in one way also God, when you focus on that day spending with Him, I believe He will speak in your life what is wrong, what you should stop doing it or not. And I'm concerned when I hear from Christians that they don't know how to be alone. I'm concerned for spiritual health of that person. And something doesn't really match. And when I shared this link for this sermon today on Facebook, I wrote, show me your schedule and I'll tell you what you believe. Show me your schedule and I'll tell you what you believe about God. I'm I'm not trying to be arrogant with that. I really believe that our schedules speak what we really believe. See, when I work for a year like crazy and had no rest, what I believed is that I have everything in my hands, in my control, and I can do everything. And my breakdown showed me that I can't do anything without Christ. And then I learned it on hard way. And it's the same way. If you never plan a rest, if you never play a date with your wife, that also speaks something. And if you never plan in your schedule time with friends, that also speaks something. Again, show me a schedule and I'll tell you what you believe. And that brings us to a third principle, that Sabbath is a day of doing good things. Remember, Jesus asked Pharisees, is it day to do evil or good? And we know the answer, it's day of doing good things. So then we have this problem again, what's the Sabbath and understanding? It's a big topic, there's a lot to say about it. But Sabbath is a day to do good things. And what are the good things? It's up to you to find out personally what is it, the good thing for you. What you do to help you rest. How do you actually resting? See, one way for me to rest is just an example that I like to read. So I usually work these days till 5, and the first thing I do, I have a dinner, and then I go and read for 2 hours. That's how I rest, and it helped me to shift my mind, to leave the work on the working place, to not bring it home. And there's a bunch of other stuff you can do. There is, you know, probably already at this point what fills your batteries, to not be like an empty vessel. You probably know that. And see, maybe then we had, as a Christians, I'm again speaking from my own perspective, the problem that how do we, if we say that Sabbath is Sunday for us, and I give you an example of going to church in the morning, which is great, and supposed to do it, but then you go home and start doing chores and writing emails and all this kind of stuff. And I recently did also a research for my work, actually. I was not trying to be related to this topic. I saw that there's a research done by Apple that 80% of adult people mostly check their emails on Sunday evenings. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but see, it's 80%. I'm sure there's a lot of Christians too. So we always look, what is next, what is next, what is next? And that's the problem why we don't know how to rest, and we don't rest, because we always look, what's next, what's next, what's next. And if you think I'm wrong, here's the best example of that. The last year, and till this point, we are in lockdown, sort of lockdown. And everything we talk about it is, what are we going to do when the lockdown stops? I almost never heard from anybody, oh, this is good because I can stop now, I can do something. We did maybe in February when everything started, there was a lot of people start baking cakes and reading books and everything till March. All that stopped because there's no accountability. We're not accountable anymore to anybody. And then we don't know how to keep going on it because we all the time looking, what's next, what's next, what's next. And that's why, again, I believe we need to practice Sabbath, or whatever you want to call it, day of rest, when you stop constantly looking what's next and focus what is now happening with me. And if you again go to Google self-help books, all of them speaking about this. All of them are speaking about being present in the moment, being with friends you love and all that stuff. The thing is that God speak about it 5,000 or 4,000 years ago already about it, but we sort of forgot that. So what I'm trying to say also is, let's not spend a next of couple of months or however constantly looking what's next, what's next, what's next. Let's focus on what is now and how can you grow from that how can you really truly rest? And if your relationship with God is not in the right place, you had a best chance now to actually do it, because we have more time now than we ever had before. Not that God extended days in the week. No, we have more time because we don't spend much time in traffic anymore. So, some friend of mine usually travel 1 hour to work. Now they just wake up and start working. But then the question is why you didn't wake up at the same time as you did before, so you sleep longer and then, see the point? That's we got a lot of time, we just don't really practice it. So if your relationship with God is not really at the right place, you have a chance now to also spend Sabbath time with Him, and I'm sure He will speak in your life. If you actually stop and listen, because that's what we don't do. And that's the whole point. That's the main point in Sabbath, that you stop with God. And I'll finish with just reminding you that Sabbath is a day of need, a day of communion with Jesus, and day for good things. Thank you.